Morning YouTubes, it is a wet, windy, well say wet, sort of a blustery day in Kent, and today's project is going to be to change the 15 tooth front sprocket on my Scrambler 400X to a 16. The speed, they go from 15 to 16. The Scrambler, they normally go from 14 to 15. However, I'm going from 14 to 16 with a 15 in the middle. We'll come to that. So anyway, without further ado, I say that a lot, without further ado, let's roll the credits. Hey, it all sounds professional, doesn't it? Don't let me fool you with that though. Right, where's this button? Here we go, back in a sec. Right, with the cat, hey Milo, with the cat getting in the way, in here we have from Hitchcock's, yes Milo, we have here from Hitchcock's a 16 tooth, oh Milo, 16 tooth front sprocket, which will be going in there. So, yes cat, so what we need to do is obviously get the bike up in the air, get the axle loose so we got a bit of play on the chain, get the covers off, get the front sprocket nut undone, try and avoid the cat, yeah, get the front sprocket nut undone, swap it over for the 16 from Hitchcock's, who are a motorcycle supply company in the UK, who are very good. I've used them before for other stuff, not just Triumph stuff, but I've used them for tank sealing stuff on the bike over in the corner there, over there on the fiberglass tank. Anyway, I'm digressing. Now I'm not going to, I might time lapse if I can get my phone to do time lapse. I might time lapse the swapping of the sprocket, but if you want to see the torque settings and how you do it, I have done another video of that already. So scroll back a few videos, probably a couple of months ago, when I went from the 14 to the 15 and see what I thought of it then. So let's get this done. I bought a nice X-ring gold chain, DID gold link chain, which I was going to put on because I thought that one looked a bit naff. I might change that at the same time. I mean, it's only done what, 1200 miles, but let's see, maybe I'll do that after the winter, so this chain can just see through the winter, and as long as the sprockets aren't worn, which they shouldn't be, I'll chuck the new chain on then. Right then, let's get this done. So here I am moving at the speed of 1,000 gazelles, ably assisted by Milo, slacking off the rear wheel and then removing the front sprocket. Front sprocket was tight on the splines where there was a bit of blue Loctite that had seeped through, so I did have to use a puller on that. You will see me using the puller on the previous video if you look back on that. The only addition to this one was there are two threaded holes in the sprocket. I had to put some shoulder bolts on that to give the puller something to pull against, because there's now not enough room with the 15 and 16 tooth around the small metal guard that covers the front sprocket to actually get a puller on. But that will make more sense. Obviously torqued up the front sprocket, set the chain tension, and then nipped everything up, obviously with a torque wrench as required. All torque settings on the previous video, as I said earlier. So anyway, I hope that helps, and let's crack on with the video. Right then, we're out riding. It is a really windy day today, so if the audio isn't fantastic, forgive me. It is quite an absolute roaring gale, as you can probably see by the trees. But first impressions are, I can't actually notice any difference in the peppiness. It still feels responsive, it still feels nice, it still feels all the things you want it to feel. Obviously it's not going to be as responsive as peppy as a 14, but I don't remember it being any better or worse than it is, so that's a good sign. Maybe it's because I went from the 14 to the 15 to then the 16. that it doesn't seem. Where are you going? Okay, you're just going to block the road while you're reversing the driveway. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're welcome, mate. That's an English thing, by the way, for those of you that aren't in England. If someone, you let someone do something in front of you, road traffic or whatever, or even if they, queue in a supermarket or whatever, if they don't answer you, it is obligatory to go, yeah, you're welcome. That's an English thing. Anyway, back to the sprockets. But the immediate thing I have noticed, even just putting off my driveway, was I now have a proper gearbox. And what I mean by that is I now have actual decent spacing between the gears. So you can pull away in first, and you actually ride through first, and then you ride through second, and you ride through third. You're not just... Well, that's a lovely old Jag, isn't it? Probably be rotten, but there you go. I'm drifting enough now, aren't I? But yeah, so the gears are actually now, they're useful, and although I've got the throttle spacer in, which makes a big difference, the throttle isn't snatchy at all. I think obviously because it's on the taller gearing, it's made a bit of a difference. But you actually ride through, I mean, like now in third, normally I'll be in like fourth or fifth, even I'm doing 35 miles an hour, because the intermediate gears are now so much more useful. Now the difference for a lot of people will be, what do they want to use the bike for? Do they want to use it for cruising around the lanes, which is what I use this for, and I will be using it for the occasional longer trip, longer tour where you want the the longer gearing for those extended, sort of motorway or fast day road trips where you can keep the revs down and maybe get a bit more economy. See, I don't know about the economy thing, because obviously you're pulling less revs, but have you got a slightly wider throttle opening to compensate? I don't know. I will find out though. But either way, first impressions are this is a useful and a very worthwhile modification on the Scrambler. Obviously the 400 speed, because of the, I believe it's due to the tyre sizes, because of the rear tyre profile is lower on the speed. I think that's why they can run a 15 as standard, and then people go to the 16. Whereas on the Scrambler, because you've got a taller profile tyre, it's windy, you've got a taller profile tyre, look at that, changing to top gear at 60 then, just sort of short shifting through the gears. But yeah, you can then, with the taller profile tyre, he says for the third time, you can then run a 14 tooth as standard. Now I'm into a very strong headwind here, so if you can't hear me you'll have to forgive me. However, the motor is pulling this without any issues at all. Now what I want to do is, I'm going to, obviously this is the national speed limit, so it's 60 mile an hour in the UK, so I don't really want to blat it at 70, but let's drop it down to 60 miles an hour. I reckon I'm doing, the trouble with these tacos is they're a bit pants, to be honest with you, but that looks like a little bit less than 5,000 RPM. So what I'm going to do now is, obviously it's going to be noisy because of this wind. I'm going to find somewhere suitable to spin around. I'm going to have a trip out to the motorway, which is, I don't know, 15-20 minutes from here, down the lanes, and what I will do is I'll have a run up and down the motorway in either direction, so you've got a headwind and a tailwind, hopefully, just so that I'm then comfortable that it will pull the gearing, which I'm happy with because it's pretty quite happy at the moment. And then I'll do the stop test at 70 miles an hour, because on the standard gearing, the bog stop gearing from the factory, 14 tooth front sprocket, is top gear 10 miles an hour per 1000 RPM. So 70 miles an hour was 7,000 RPM, which I always thought was a little bit excessive. Oh, let's go use the stay right. So there we go. Just to spin around. Right then. Let me spin round. Get to the motorway. I'll put it back on and let's see what the gearing change is. But so far so good. I'm happy with this. Yeah, it's looking good. We're back. Now just heading down towards the M20 in Ashford. I can run between junctions 9 and 10 because there's only a couple of miles between them. And that gives us a good idea about how it performs. Obviously it's a like nice little cheeky second gear, nice and responsive. Not revving it too high, but shifting through the gears. So as you can see, there's no issue with the peppiness at all, or not, at least not for me. I mean, I'm not a heavy guy. If you're, 20 stone, then maybe you might want to keep the standard gearing. I don't know, because obviously you don't know until you test it. However, we are doing 70 miles an hour, and we are just, I would say, a Nat's cock over 6,500 RPM. Sorry, no, that's wrong. 5,500 RPM. The gaps between the markers on the tacho, they really are quite poor. Right, let me have a good look at this. Yeah, we are doing about 5,500 RPM, spot on, which is nice. We've got quite a headwind again, so apologies if you can't hear me clearly. But this so far, and obviously I'm not having to keep any excess throttle on or anything like that, it is running nicely. Let's just past this wagon. Just drop it. Now we know that on these speedos they are a little bit optimistic, they'll be about 10% over. I think I'll measure this one, I think it's in Google Maps. Right, I guess it's going to be a similar way backwards because I'm into a headwind this way, so I'll have a tailwind the other way, so it'll be even easier. So let me just sign off this part, and I'll find some little lanes I think, and then we'll do a quick summary. So back in a second. So then the Scrambler 400X, hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. I've moved the microphone a little bit closer, but I'm shielded from the wind in the by these hedgerows. The 15 and 16 tooth sprocket change, is it worthwhile? 100% it is, without a shadow of a doubt. These should have come with a minimum 15, and for me personally, the 16 tooth front sprocket, because the 16 tooth now has made this bike absolutely spot on for me. It picks up quick enough, because as I say, most of my riding's around these lanes. I'm not on a racetrack. I'm not looking for ultimate gearing on every corner. I'm looking for a bike that is rideable, usable, plods through the lanes, does a bit of touring if I want it to. I know people say, oh, you need a bigger bike for touring. You don't need a bigger bike, you can tour on anything. I've got plenty of mates on the old Small Bikes Big Adventures page that tour on blooming 50cc Honda Cubs. So you can tour on anything. Your choice of bike obviously for touring makes a difference. Would I tour on a Cub? No, I wouldn't, but I would tour on this because the seat's comfy. It is now I've done the mods. I've got a little screen on it, that makes a nice difference. I've moved the bars, I've adjusted the bars, and now I've got the 16 tooth front sprocket. Look at all this debris that's come down in the wind. Yeah, so now I've got the 16 tooth front sprocket. So just to reiterate, previously at 70 miles an hour we were doing 7,000 RPM in top with the that's with the 14. With the 15 tooth, where should we go? Let's go towards Y, shall we? With the 15 tooth, that dropped down to I think about 6,500, You'd have to look at my previous video. I can't remember. But here now, I would say we're now down to a little under 6,000, something around 5,500 to 6,000, I would say. Obviously, it's such a daft little tacho, it's hard to accurately gauge, but I would say that's roughly about where we are. So, worthwhile modification? Absolutely it is. Now, if you like my content and me spannering on the lovely 400X, and I do love this bike, then stick in a like or a subscribe. Obviously both are free, and I do appreciate it. I like it when I see the old thumbs up, and I like it when, you know, people have subscribed or put a comment about how much they've enjoyed the videos. Oh, wind. So yeah, oh, it is proper windy. So if you like the video, yeah, thumbs up, a little subscription would mean the world to me, because it is nice that people do enjoy my rubbish and they do want to watch more. So follow me for more 400X stuff, or for more Scrambler stuff, or for more motorcycle stuff, with the occasional bit of whatever else I chuck in, because as I say, this channel's just for a bit of fun. Ride safe all. If you're not riding, watch rubbish videos of old men pulling bikes apart and going for rides in the country on a windy day. And I'll catch you all soon.